This is what it's all about. A piece of high ground rising from the escarpment. Today, the Canadian Memorial at Vimy Ridge stands tall. A majestic nod to what happened here on April 9th, 1917. Every day, Canadian tourists walk these steps, a pilgrimage to remember the past, to visit the trenches from a century ago, to see how close the Germans and the Canadian lines were.
And the water pits are just through there.
We venture here, still on park grounds but off the tourist track, to be among the first in nearly a century to follow in some remarkable Canadian footsteps. Footsteps down, deep underground, 8 meters into a hidden world below.
I'm going to release you from the rope.
Okay.
No well-worn path here, just a fragile tunnel never before documented for network television.
Peter, we're in the main subway now. So
now we're into it. Now we're into it. The entrance is done.
Yeah.
Goodman Subway, as it's known, is all raw, chalky walls, and not all that long ago, caved-in passages until excavated by experts.
As we come off to our left here, we're coming into mortar pits.
Nick Pryor of the Durand Group, the world's foremost authority on subterranean warfare, is our guide.
And this is just what they would have seen.
This is just what they would have seen, Peter. Yes.
Goodman, he tells us, is actually one of more than a dozen tunnels in the area and one of the longest below the Vimy battlefront.
Going away into the distance there.
Right.
That's the main subway. You're looking probably 100 meters.
1,600 meters long, in fact. A century ago, a network of these subways and tunnels filled with Canadian men, becoming a key part of military strategy.
See, we've had timbers cut in, Peter.
All right.
Connecting reserve lines to the front lines, quickly, safely, and out of sight of the Germans. War underground, raging right alongside the war above ground.
Give me a sense of what would have been happening in this area on the big night in April 8th, 17. What would have been happening here?
Well, on the big night, the men would have been coming up quickly to here to use these accesses off the site, off the sides, to get up into the jumping off trenches. As they came up through these tunnels, they would have been hearing the shells and the artillery whistling overhead, feeling nervous, I'm sure. Perhaps
So
sick.
8 meters, no trouble hearing those shells.
No trouble hearing that at all.
So a lot of tension, a lot of nerves,
Absolutely.
about to make the big move.
Yeah.
These tunnels used also to conceal ammunition stores, communication lines, command posts, and more.
They're actually cables. They're electric cables. They are mine charge cables. So at the end of these would be the explosives they would use to blow the big craters on the surface and fire the electric current along. So this is very much part of this underground warfare.
So at the other end of this, trenches.
The other end of this, trenches. And the Germans actually didn't know what hit them. They didn't realise that we had so many men sitting in these subways ready to move forward on that morning of the 9th of April.
Hard to imagine so many men down here a century ago, yet as we continue, the damp emptiness slowly begins to reveal signs of life.
Peter, just to your left, see the can on the floor? The big...
Yes.
So that's the typical fuel cans, but they use that to bring water to the troops.
And what do we got here? Food tins?
Typical food tins. That strikes me as typical of a butter tin.
Then, even more extraordinary, drawings, carvings, and names. an exceptional number of names.
Peter, now we're really in a special place. We're right up on the front line, and if we just look to your right now, across the wall, I haven't found anything like this anywhere else in the tunnels. It is fantastic. Just brilliant. Lot of graffiti from all the soldiers that have been sitting down here in this subway.
And these appear to be, many of them, if not all of them, Canadians.
They're nearly all Canadian.
This is almost a century ago. The writing looks almost like it was yesterday. But no, it was 1917, 1918. Some of the names. Here we got J.A. Hope, 2nd Canadian Mounted Rifles. He's from Victoria, BC. J.B. Thompson, 5 CMR. We got here D. Ross, 2nd Canadian Mounted Rifles. And C.H. Bamborough, 2nd CMR, Canada. You try to imagine what must have been going through their minds in those moments before they may have had to go up, and perhaps did, as they scratched their names and their regiments on the wall.
Hearts pounding, maybe thinking this could be the last vestige of me leaving a name on the wall. But it just epitomizes this war underground, this living, fighting, moving. It was a whole lifestyle here. It wasn't just a static warfare that everybody thinks of the First World War. Men were living down here. There were braziers down here. They were eating down here. They had to go to the toilet down here. All right?
Yeah. Okay.
I was so lucky, so privileged to get involved here, because every bit of tunnel you go in, every bit of name, there's a story.
There is no way anybody today can truly understand what Canada's soldier of the Great War endured. The horrors of battle, the cramped, desperate spaces that filled everyday life, and the courage it took just to go on. But in this tunnel, on this day, I probably got closer than most.
All right.
A long old day for you.
Don't step back. One of those days you never forget, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
What amazing. Never been anything like that.